Megan, a veterinary nurse, chose to take a detour on her route to the clinic on a chilly, misty morning. With the exception of the crunching of gravel beneath her automobile tires, the rural road bordered with frost-covered trees was strangely quiet. Before a hectic day of caring for animals, Megan loved this walk because it gave her a moment of peace. But this morning would be everything but tranquil. When her vehicle rounded a bend, she noticed something strange, a sagging golden figure. She saw the distinctive form of a golden retriever lying still on the icy roadside as she slowed down. The dog's fur, which had formerly been a vivid golden color, was now matted with. It was shivering and rising and falling in shallow breaths as Megan pulled, covered in dirt and blood spots. Overriding her misgivings, she gingerly approached and grabbed a blanket from the back seat. "Hey, buddy." Kneeling down, she spoke softly, and the dog opened its eyes feebly, revealing rich amber. A closer examination showed a slender frame, a serious wound on its hind leg, and indications of sickness, most likely an untreated infection. Looking around, Megan observed no evidence of a home or owner. The road was empty, and it was obvious the dog had been left in. Her chest constricted at the idea of someone abandoning such a kind creature to fend for itself during its time of need. Megan brought the puppy to her car after tenderly putting it in the blanket, her heart heavy with grief, and as the dog responded with a small whimper, she muttered, "Determination, you're coming with me?" The sound resonated deeply with her. As Megan drove to the clinic, she asked a series of questions to make sure the animal understood that it was finally in good hands. Her head was overwhelmed with feelings. How could someone forsake such a lovely creature? How long had it suffered by itself? And would it make it through the trip? Signaled the start of a relationship that neither Megan nor the golden retriever could have predicted. Will change them both in ways they never would have thought possible. Megan didn't waste any time in getting to the clinic. Carefully cradled the limp golden retriever in her arms while it continued to give out the merest hints of life. According to her colleague Dr. Wilson, an experienced vet, saw her desperation right once and accompanied her into the examining room. As Megan carefully placed the dog on the examination, Dr. Wilson inquired, "Table, I discovered him by the side of the road, and he's in poor condition, famished, hurt, and..." Despite the knot in her stomach, Megan's voice remained steady as she responded, "Possibly infected." Dr. Wilson nodded, wearing gloves, and began his examination. Megan watched with apprehension as the dog's condition worsened. Its weight was high, its paw pads were broken and bleeding, and the deep cut on its rear leg was severely infected. Dangerously low, but upon closer examination, a small scar around its neck was discovered, an even more tragic fact, implying that it had been securely bound for a long time. "Thus we must stabilize him," Dr. Wilson stated gravely. "Fluids first, after which the area will be cleaned and tests will be performed to see if the infection has progressed too far." As doctors inserted an IV drip to rehydrate the puppy, Megan's hands moved reflexively, saving his life. Fluid started to flow, and the golden retriever whimpered softly as Megan carefully leaned in. She stroked its head and whispered, "You're safe now. The team worked tirelessly for hours to take care of you." Megan took her time cleaning the wound, carefully washing out dirt and adding medicines. Despite its fragile state, the dog's resiliency under Dr. Wilson's care. After stabilizing the dog, Megan, its determination to live was evident with every tiny groan and flinch. And after reviewing the test findings, Dr. Wilson said that the illness was a comfort when it entered the bloodstream, but the dog's terrible anemia and indications of chronic neglect, and its limp indicated previous trauma that Megan mumbled, unable to conceal the fact that she had healed incorrectly, most likely due to earlier trauma. What type of person would do this? Sadly, Dr. Wilson's frustration is more widespread than we'd like to acknowledge. When an animal is no longer useful, some people consider it trash. Megan clenched her fists and made a quiet pledge to. Dr. Wilson described the steps we can take to offer this dog a second chance. To regain strength, schedule an antibiotic course and a high-calorie diet. It would take a long time to recover from physical treatment to solve its movement concerns, but both veterinarians agreed. Over the following few days, Megan spent every free time doing everything it took to. She started lovingly referring to the golden retriever as Sunny because of how warm his fur would. Sunny started eating tiny meals, and with the right care, each day brought little wins. Pieces of a nutrient-dense meal Megan made. His once dead eyes began to flicker with interest, and despite these indications of improvement, Sunny still waggled his tail feebly when Megan came around. Remaining cautious of human contact, Megan flinched any time someone reached for him too rapidly, indicating that he had been mistreated, and she was heartbroken to consider the terror he must have experienced. She patiently spoke to him in. Sunny progressively uses slow, deliberate gestures and a kind, calming tone. Started to trust her when he put his head on her lap during one of the clinic's quiet moments, which was quite poignant. Megan's introduction of a plush bone toy, which she anticipated would help him initially, was a breakthrough. Sunny just gingerly sniffed it, but Megan discovered him cuddled up with the toy between his paws with his eyes closed later that night. While Megan couldn't stop thinking about the mystery, he looked to be sleeping peacefully for the first time in a long time. Considering Sunny's desertion, she made the decision to look into sharing pictures of him that were meticulously cropped to remove the injuries discovered on social media pages and local animal rescue forums close to Oak Ridge Road. The post stated that the golden retriever, who was about 4 years old, was seriously. Does anyone recognize him now that he's safe, but neglected? The answers were quick, but depressing. Some voiced their indignation. Others related comparable tales of local neglect, but nobody claimed to. If Sunny's illness was caused by his prior owners, Megan was relieved to see that Sunny was a part of her. Better off without them, but one comment from a woman named Linda jumped out. Stated that a few days prior, I had seen a man in a pickup truck discard a puppy on the side of the road. I didn't catch the license plate. Linda said, but the man swiftly drove away in a red truck, and I didn't know how horrible it was until now. I'm terribly. Megan's jaw tensed as she read the comment. Sorry, I didn't do more. The thought that someone could be that heartless. It doesn't matter who left you there, Sunny. Leaving a living creature filled her with a mixture of rage and resolve. Later that night, she spoke while softly petting his fur. We're going to make sure you never feel unloved again. Although Sunny still had a long way to go, his newfound faith in Megan and the clinic allowed him to make steady progress. Each wag of his tail, no matter how tiny, felt like a beacon of hope, triumph, and although his history was still a terrible mystery, Megan's help was starting to make his future seem more promising. Steadfast commitment and Sunny's indomitable spirit. Sunny's road to recovery was a careful balancing act between victories and difficulties. As the days stretched into weeks, his bodily injuries started to mend. His once matted fur started to drab returned to its gentle golden sheen with consistent combing, and his appetite increased. And Megan enjoyed watching him eat healthily. Every meal he completed felt like a tiny triumph that brought them one step closer to regaining his strength. But it was more difficult to heal the mental wounds, and Sunny remained cautious, especially. He retreated into a corner when he saw Dr. Wilson or other male clinic employees around males. Megan saw the traces of trauma in his shaking body and understood that restoring his trust would require care and time. Dr. Wilson came up to Megan one day and suggested that we try introducing Sunny to some of our therapy. He stated that dogs might occasionally find solace with their own kind, particularly. Megan concurred when they had gone through tragedy, and later that afternoon, she brought Bella, a kind Labrador mix who was brought softly into the room with Sunny Bella, her tail wagging in a nice manner, having been trained as a therapy dog. At first, Rhythm Sunny remained curled up on his bed, cautiously observing her. However, Bella's composed manner allowed her to lie down a few feet away, establishing a non-threatening presence over the following. After a few sessions, Sunny warmed up to Bella, and Megan saw the slight changes. When Bella came in, Sunny's tail waggled a little, and he began to follow her every motion in the suite. When Bella finally pushed a ball in Sunny's direction, he was initially apprehensive. Megan saw him play for the first time and was moved to tears when he finally pushed it back with his nose. Despite these advancements, setbacks were unavoidable one morning. Sunny was out for a quick stroll when he heard a loud noise and realized that a car was backfiring. Sunny quickly fled his. Megan's leash slipped out of her grasp, and she became terrified as she yelled his name and chased after him. Sunny ran BL kind. Megan eventually discovered him hunched beneath a park bench, his body trembling, his panic overriding his instincts. Uncontrollably, she knelt down and whispered, "It's okay, Sunny, I'm here." It took a few minutes of careful urging before he let her get close and reattach the leash, but you're secure. Back at the clinic that evening, Megan sat next to Sunny and stroked his fur. As Sunny continued to heal Megan, she whispered, "One step at a time." He followed her about the clinic, his tail bobbing every time she entered a room, demonstrating his developing attachment to her. Started taking him home in the evenings, thinking that a more secure setting away from the busy clinic could be beneficial. Him unwind more at home. Sunny had new difficulties that he was reluctant to investigate the house while remaining by Megan's side. But eventually, he started to display hints of his mischievous nature. Megan frequently noticed him softly soaking at the couch's plush throw blankets or sniffing intently at the bookshelves. In the evening, Megan chose to test Sunny's tolerance for human contact by sitting next to him on the floor and giving him a light massage. Sunny initially tightened her shoulders and back, but as her hands glided slowly, he relaxed, closed his eyes, and for the first time, he let out a quiet sigh of satisfaction. But even with his advancements, the mystery of Sunny's history persisted. Megan contacted a local animal shelter because she couldn't get the image of the red truck referenced in the internet comment out of her head. One day, rescue organizations asked if anyone had heard of any abandoned animals in the region or had seen a vehicle similar to this. "We've been monitoring reports of animals being discarded in the same region where you are." So a rescue volunteer named Sam called her. Discovered Sunny's Sam, who suggested that he might not be the only victim, that Megan's resolve was rekindled by seeing animals go through the same thing. So she worked with Sam and other. When volunteers organized a search of the neighborhood, they discovered fragments of abandoned dog collars and signs of abuse, of food bags and indications of temporary camps where individuals may have abandoned animals, but they were unable to locate additional stray animals. Throughout the search, the experience highlighted the significance of education and activism. Using Sunny's story, Megan promised to spread the word about the suffering of abandoned animals and the necessity of. Megan and Sunny became closer as they strengthened their defenses at home. At night, when she was reading on the couch, Sunny climbed up next to her, something he had never done on his own volition before. He softly put his head on her lap and gazed up at her while maintaining such close contact. Megan's heart filled with emotion as she saw the trusting eyes. "You've come a long way, Sunny." As Sunny fell asleep, she stroked his head and murmured, "I swear I'll never let anything happen to you again." Even though his trip was far from done, Megan recognized that they had already accomplished something incredible together. They had started to mend, demonstrating that even the most broken souls could rediscover love and hope. As Sunny continued to, he and Megan's relationship became stronger as each day brought about new discoveries and minor triumphs that showed Megan that he was resilient in spite of the tragedy he had experienced. Sunny's spirit was gradually returning, and his kind. As nature started to emerge, one of the most poignant moments occurred during Megan's usual stroll in a nearby park. Selected a shaded period of the day to avoid intense sunlight. But as they proceeded, she was unable to foresee everything. Sunny froze as a family with small children arrived on a shaded route, their laughing resonating through the air. Megan knelt next to him, whispering comforting words as his ears were pressed back and stiff. The youngest child, a small girl, spoke as she placed her palms softly on his head. Megan, holding a plush animal, asked if she could pet your dog because she was unsure of how Sunny it would respond, but Sunny took a cautious step forward before she could respond. Sunny sniffed her fingers as the girl warily approached, her tail bobbing ever so slightly, and, much to Megan's surprise, gently licked her fingers. The girl laughed, and Megan sensed a knot formed in her throat, indicating a moment of trust and the start of Sunny's emotional recovery. Because of frequent play dates with other dogs, his increasing self-confidence also translated to his contacts with Bella. The therapy dog had taken on the role of mentor to Sunny, helping him with. They played tug-of-war with ropes and chased after them, rediscovering how to be carefree. One afternoon, they lounged next to each other during pauses in the open fields. Megan took a risk by taking Sunny to a nearby dog park, but she believed he was ready for a more social environment. The park was a hive of activity, with dogs of various breeds running and barking. As played together, Sunny paused at the gate, looking around at the strange situation with Megan crouching next to him. "You're secure, Sunny. Let's give it a go." Her hand rests reassuringly on his back. Bella, who was already in the park, ran to meet him with excitement. Contagious. With Sunny gently stepping onto the grass behind Bella. He first stayed close to Megan while keeping a safe distance from the other dogs, but with time, his interest in overcoming him. A gregarious golden retriever came wagging its tail, and Sunny gave it a wary wag in return. Of his own, and by the time they left, Sunny was comfortably trotting through the park, playing lightly with. As Bella and her new pal Megan watched him, they couldn't help but smile. It seemed like Sunny was finally embracing the delight of being a dog once more. Yet despite the advancements, there were still difficulties. In the evening, a thunderstorm rolled in, causing Megan's house's windows to shake with its thunderous sound. Sunny was frightened by the. Megan discovered him shivering fiercely as he bolted beneath the dining table. She sat on the floor close by, giving him space, while his big, terrified eyes were there. Speaking in a soothing, calm voice, "You say, it's okay, Sunny, it's just a storm. Safe here." She approached slowly, her palm gently resting on his pay. After what seemed like an age, Sunny slowly approached her and pressed his head against her arm to ensure Megan was comfortable. Her presence served as a stable anchor in the maelstrom while she was with him till the storm passed, reminding Megan that recovery carried the burden of his past and wasn't always linear, and there would be setbacks, but every instance of trust, no matter how tiny, was a positive step. Megan posted updates on social media, continuing to inspire people with Sunny's tale. Media outlets are sharing images and footage of his development. One even shared a brief video of Sunny playing in the park with Bella went viral, attracting the attention of animal lovers worldwide with words of. Numerous others shared their personal tales of saving and rehabilitating animals as support flooded in. One of the messages was from a local reporter who wanted to use Sunny's tale in a piece about attempts to save animals. Megan concurred, believing the narrative would highlight the significance of adopting and caring for neglected children. Animals. The piece titled Sunny's Journey from Abandoned to Adopted. Resilience brought attention to Sunny's change, as well as the larger problem of animal abandonment. Megan's appeal for stricter legislation against cruelty and neglect, and her rallying cry for more adoptions. The story moved many, and money flowed into the nearby animal shelter where Megan works. Back to home, Sonny continued to volunteer, and his days were occupied with playful antics, long walks, and peaceful evenings spent snuggled up on the couch next to Megan one evening while Megan was reviewing. She looked down at Sonny, who had his head resting on her knee, and asked whether she could adopt any more dogs from the shelter. "Changed my life. As you are aware," Sonny's voice was full with emotion. Tail waggled idly as though he understood, but Megan knew that he had saved her when she had gone to save Sonny, reminding her as well of the strength of love, resiliency, and second chances as Sonny went asleep, Megan silently vowed to keep fighting for animals like him to be there. Sonny's journey was more than just a tale of survival. It was evidence of the unbreakable connection between their voice and their advocate. As Sonny's confidence increased, so did his understanding of people, animals, and the transformational power of compassion. Presence in Megan's life, he had changed from a shy, broken person to a loving friend who flourished in. Sonny had become an essential part of her, and their link was unquestionable. Every morning as part of his routine, he would trot to the door with his tail ready to wag. Even on Megan's most trying days at the clinic, his contagious energy lifted her spirits during their walks. It was a clear, sunny Saturday morning when Megan made the decision to take Sonny on a special excursion to a neighboring hiking trail. As they headed into the woods, Sonny's ears perked up because it was the kind of day that made everything feel new and alive. Megan giggled as he rushed forward, his nose twitching at every new scent. Then he stopped and glanced back, seemingly to make sure she was. Following along, Megan spotted a group of hikers resting close by, including a young man with a gentle smile. He carefully approached and praised Sonny's shiny coat. "What's his name?" Sonny. Megan patted his head and said, "Hune's a rescue. He has come a long way," and his face softened. "He is fortunate to have found you dogs like Sonny. Deserve another chance." They had a brief conversation, and Megan felt proud. Sonny's composed greeting to the man without his customary hesitancy was a minor but significant victory that demonstrated how. Later that afternoon, after seeing how far he had come, Megan made the decision to go over the adoption applications she had been assisting with. She had always supported adoption, and Sonny's story had motivated many in the shelter's adoption process. She browsed the community to think about saving animals in need. She noticed an email with an update on Sonny's case from the writer who had published her narrative. Megan clicked on the email since the subject line caught her attention, and it contained new details regarding the red pickup truck that was seen close to the location where Sonny was abandoned by a nearby farmer. Had come forward with information that he had seen the truck several times, frequently close to his home, where the journalist had obtained partial license plate details from the farmer, who had believed the animals were being discarded. Megan's pulse pounded as she read the email that had been forwarded to the authorities. Would Sonny and others receive justice? She instantly responded, offering her assistance and any further information to animals who had experienced the same fate. When she discovered Sonny in the weeks that followed the investigation, she was able to provide information regarding his condition. Authorities found that the red truck had a history of animal abuse after it gained traction. When confronted with negligence charges, he first denied any involvement, but witness accounts and camera footage provided a vivid picture of his behavior, and Megan felt a mix of relief and rage upon learning that Sonny's abuser would be held accountable. But it didn't make Despite the suffering he had caused, Megan decided to concentrate on Sonny's positive traits. Sonny's healing journey reached a point where he felt safe now, and his tale inspired change. Lovely milestone. One evening, Megan threw a small party for her friends and other animal lovers, and she had invited the owner of Bella and a few shelter volunteers to celebrate Sonny's transformation. The event was a mixture of stories, humor, and, of course, lots of dog treats. Sonny was the evening's highlight. mingling with the guests, and even taking pats from strangers. Megan smiled as she observed him. The dog, who had before flinched at every sound, was now self-assured and at ease. As the evening drew to a close, Megan was surprised by a question one of her friends asked. "Do you think you'll?" Megan hesitated, her palm resting on Sunny's head. "Will you keep him, Megan, or are you still planning to find him a permanent home?" She had always planned to briefly foster him in order to heal him before finding him a loving family. However, it was impossible to part with him now. "I believe he has already found his home," she added, her voice full of, as if he understood. Sunny wagged his tail as her friends clapped with emotion. The following morning, Megan filled out the formal adoption documents, officially establishing Sunny as a family member. It was a straightforward gesture, yet it held deep significance. Sunny was no longer a straggler or a rescuer. Instead, he was at home as they adapted to their new life together. Megan frequently thought back on how much she had learned from Sunny and how much they had both matured. Priceless teachings on resiliency, trust, and the strength of unconditional love, which Megan had returned to him. The protection and love he so sorely required. Their journey was about more than just surviving. It was about. Both Sunny and Megan had undergone a metamorphosis, going from shattered and abandoned to flourishing and incredibly loved. Had discovered a companion in him, a reminder of the reason she had devoted her life to taking care of animals on calm. Megan would caress Sunny's fur as he lay cuddled up next to her in the evenings, whispering, "You're secure now, Sunny, and you'll." In many ways, Sunny's narrative didn't conclude with his recovery. Rather, it was only the beginning of inspiration. Because of his tenacity, Megan chose to advance his cause by supporting, demanding stricter regulations pertaining to animal care and encouraging the adoption of rescued animals. She thought that Sunny's metamorphosis may be a beacon of change and hope for innumerable other animals throughout. Megan contacted neighborhood animal shelters, rescue groups, and advocacy organizations, offering to share Sunny's story. At neighborhood gatherings, her suggestion was enthusiastically received, and shortly she and Sunny frequently attended adoption fairs, school assemblies, and even city council sessions where they talked about animals. Welfare policies, Sunny's golden coat, and kind disposition made him an immediate favorite everywhere they went. Kids gathered to pet him, and adults were moved by his tale, which Megan frequently started. Their presentations featuring a slideshow of Sunny's initial days following his rescue, featuring pictures of his fragile body and wary eyes. She followed with pictures of his change while playing with Bella, resting, and unwinding at the dog park. "Every animal deserves a second chance," Megan would say in a steady voice next to her at home, with conviction, "and it's our responsibility to make sure they receive one." One such noteworthy occasion happened at a neighborhood. Megan was asked to address a group of elementary school kids about the importance of proper pet keeping and the value of being kind to animals. Sunny accompanied her by wagging his tail. Megan told Sunny's story. The room, while the kids sat cross-legged on the floor, excited to see him, became silent, and the kids listened carefully, their eyes wide with compassion. A small child raised his hand after she was done and asked, "How can we help dogs like Sunny?" Megan grinned. "There are so many ways you can help," she continued, her heart bursting with pleasure at the boy's kindness. "You can volunteer. When your family is ready, you can adopt a pet or donate food or supplies to a shelter. But the most crucial thing you can do is treat all animals with love." Following the lecture, Sunny patiently so while the kids alternated touching him, and one timid little girl finally found the strength to approach. In response, Sunny placed his head lightly on her lap, eliciting a gleeful. Sunny's increasing fame prompted a wave of grins from the adults in the room and a chuckle from the girl. A local news station contacted Auda to draw attention to Megan's larger advocacy activities and asked for an interview. Showcased their efforts. The segment, which included video of Sunny at the dog park during prime time, the response to social gatherings and lounging with Megan at home was tremendous. Megan's email was inundated with supportive responses, and donations to nearby shelters rose dramatically for a number of people. Stated that after hearing Sunny's tale, they were motivated to adopt. One of the messages was from a woman named. She had always supported adoption, and Sunny's story had motivated many in the shelter's adoption process. She browsed the community to think about saving animals in need. She noticed an email with an update on Sunny's case from the writer who had published her narrative. Megan clicked on the email since the subject line caught her attention, and it contained new details regarding the red pickup truck that was seen close to the location where Sunny was abandoned by a nearby farmer. Had come forward with information that he had seen the truck several times, frequently close to his home, where the journalist had obtained partial license plate details from the farmer, who had believed the animals were being discarded. Megan's pulse pounded as she read the email that had been forwarded to the authorities. Would Sunny and others receive justice? She instantly responded, offering her assistance and any further information to animals who had experienced the same fate. When she discovered Sunny in the weeks that followed the investigation, she was able to provide information regarding his condition. Authorities found that the red truck had a history of animal abuse after it gained traction. When confronted with negligence charges, he first denied any involvement, but witness accounts and camera footage provided a vivid picture of his behavior, and Megan felt a mix of relief and rage upon learning that Sunny's abuser would be held accountable. But it didn't make Despite the suffering he had caused, Megan decided to concentrate on Sunny's positive traits. Sunny's healing journey reached a point where he felt safe now, and his tale inspired change. Lovely milestone. One evening, Megan threw a small party for her friends and other animal lovers, and she had invited the owner of Bella and a few shelter volunteers to celebrate Sunny's transformation. The event was a mixture of stories, humor, and of course, lots of dog treats. Sunny was the evening's highlight, mingling with the guests and even taking pats from strangers. Megan smiled as she observed him. The dog, who had before flinched at every sound, was now self-assured and at ease. As the evening drew to a close, Megan was surprised by a question one of her friends asked. "Do you think you'll?" Megan hesitated, her palm resting on Sunny's head. "Will you keep him, Megan, or are you still planning to find him a permanent home?" She had always planned to briefly foster him in order to heal him before finding him a loving family. However, it was impossible to part with him now. "I believe he has already found his home," she added, her voice full of, as if he understood. Sunny wagged his tail as her friends clapped with emotion. The following morning, Megan filled out the formal adoption documents, officially establishing Sunny as a family member. It was a straightforward gesture, yet it held deep significance. Sunny was no longer a straggler or a rescuer. Instead, he was at home as they adapted to their new life together. Megan frequently thought back on how much she had learned from Sunny and how much they had both matured. Priceless teachings on resiliency, trust, and the strength of unconditional love, which Megan had returned to him. The protection and love he so sorely required. Their journey was about more than just surviving. It was about both Sunny and Megan had undergone a metamorphosis, going from shattered and abandoned to flourishing and incredibly loved. Had discovered a companion in him, a reminder of the reason she had devoted her life to taking care of animals on calm. Megan would caress Sunny's fur as he lay cuddled up next to her in the evenings, whispering, "You're secure now, Sunny, and you'll." In many ways, Sunny's narrative didn't conclude with his recovery. Rather, it was only the beginning of inspiration. Because of his tenacity, Megan chose to advance his cause by supporting demanding stricter regulations pertaining to animal care and encouraging the adoption of rescued animals. She thought that Sunny's metamorphosis may be a beacon of change and hope for innumerable other animals throughout. Megan contacted neighborhood animal shelters, rescue groups, and advocacy organizations, offering to share Sunny's story. At neighborhood gatherings, her suggestion was enthusiastically received, and shortly she and Sunny frequently attended adoption fairs, school assemblies, and even city council sessions where they talked about animals. Welfare policies, Sunny's golden coat, and kind disposition made him an immediate favorite everywhere they went. Kids gathered to pet him, and adults were moved by his tale, which Megan frequently started their presentations featuring a slideshow of Sunny's initial days following his rescue, featuring pictures of his fragile body and wary eyes. She followed with pictures of his change while playing with Bella, resting, and unwinding at the dog park. Every animal deserves a second chance, Megan would say in a steady voice next to her at home, with conviction, and it's our responsibility to make sure they receive one. One such noteworthy occasion happened at a neighborhood. Megan was asked to address a group of elementary school kids about the importance of proper pet keeping and the value of being kind to animals. Sunny accompanied her by wagging his tail. Megan told Sunny's story. The room, while the kids sat cross-legged on the floor, excited to see him, became silent, and the kids listened carefully, their eyes wide with compassion. A small child raised his hand after she was done and asked, "How can we help dogs like Sunny?" Megan grinned. "There are so many ways you can help," she continued, her heart bursting with pleasure at the boy's kindness. "You can volunteer. When your family is ready, you can adopt a pet or donate food or supplies to a shelter. But the most crucial thing you can do is treat all animals with love." Following the lecture, Sunny patiently. So while the kids alternated touching him, and one timid little girl finally found the strength to approach. In response, Sunny placed his head lightly on her lap, eliciting a gleeful. Sunny's increasing fame prompted a wave of grins from the adults in the room and a chuckle from the girl. A local news station contacted Auda to draw attention to Megan's larger advocacy activities and asked for an interview. Showcased their efforts. The segment, which included video of Sunny at the dog park during prime time, the response to social gatherings and lounging with Megan at home was tremendous. Megan's email was inundated with supportive responses, and donations to nearby shelters rose dramatically for a number of people. Stated that after hearing Sunny's tale, they were motivated to adopt. One of the messages was from a woman named. In the afternoon, Megan made the decision to drive Sunny to a neighboring lake because she believed it would be the ideal way to celebrate after learning of a scenic trail that led to a remote beach. With all they had accomplished, the journey was serene, the windows were down, and the radio was playing softly as Sunny slept. When they reached the trailhead, he leaped out of the vehicle with his head resting on the armrest and his ears flapping in the wind. His tail was bouncing with excitement as he hiked, and the view of the towering trees and Sunny sniffed avidly at the wild plants as she investigated every inch of the trail, catching glimpses of the glittering lake through the greenery. When they eventually arrived at the beach, Megan sat on a log and observed as they chased flowers and the occasional butterfly. As the sun sank low on the horizon, Sunny joyfully splashed in the shallow water, illuminating the sky with hues of. When Megan considered everything they had experienced together, she felt a deep feeling of peace. Contest the victories and the amazing bond they had created. Sunny trotted over to her, resting his head on his wet fur and beaming, joyful eyes. Megan caressed his back while he was on her lap, relishing the moment. "That you are my sunshine," Sunny said in a whisper. "Thank you for teaching me the true meaning of love." In the weeks that followed, Megan could observe a minor yet noteworthy shift in Sunny. He appeared more at ease and satisfied, as though he knew his story had arrived. Full circle, his journey began with dread and abandonment, but ultimately resulted in. As they settled into a peaceful evening at home, Megan thought about love, purpose, and a legacy that would inspire others for years to come. Sand's perseverance had taught her to never give up, and his everlasting trust had demonstrated how much they had both matured. Sunny's story was about much than just survival. It was about the limits of what a human-animal bond might accomplish. He and everyone he came into contact with underwent a metamorphosis, turning a moment of despair into a lifelong mission of hope, demonstrating that love can illuminate the path even in the most dire circumstances. Megan found herself lured further into the realm of animal rescue as Sunny's narrative continued to motivate her. Her engagement with advocacy organizations and shelters grew, and she started helping with hands-on rescue operations. Sunny has become a symbol of bravery and resiliency for animals in harsh circumstances. Joined her, offering animals in need a soothing presence. One cool autumn morning, Megan received the local shelter received an urgent call because a nearby puppy factory had closed and dozens of abandoned pups were in need of. The shelter organizer asked Megan if she could assist in providing emergency care and transportation to safe destinations. Without hesitation, a handful of the canines were sent to an out-of-town rehabilitation center. Megan concurred, so she packed her car with supplies, blankets, and containers. Megan looked at him and grinned as he stepped into the passenger seat, his tail bouncing as though he knew they were on a mission. The scene at the puppy mill was awful, with rows of cages kept as Sunny was prepared to assist some pals. Volunteers and animal control officers put in endless effort to help hungry canines, whose eyes were dull and their fur was matted. As they carried the terrified animals to waiting vehicles, they removed them while reassuring them gently. 3 dogs were given to Megan, a beagle with depressed drooping, a little terrier mix, and she piled them into her car, along with eyeballs and a quivering golden retriever puppy that made her think of Sunny at his saddest moments. Sunny seemed to soothe their fears during the drive by leaning over the back seat and sniffing them. Megan kept the mood light by talking to the dogs and playing soothing music throughout the lengthy rehabilitation facility. Sunny Ever, the sympathetic friend, seemed to detect their fear and comfort them by pausing occasionally to check on them. Placed his head on the edge of the crate nearest to him and provided silent comfort when they got to the workers at the rehabilitation facility gave them a warm welcome, and Megan carefully unloaded each dog before taking it for a checkup. Heart throbbing for the little frightened creature you're going to be, she remained by the golden retriever puppy's crate. "All right," she muttered as her fingers delicately touched Sunny's puppy paw. Standing next to her, the staff member gave a gentle whine that seemed to reflect her feelings. Observed the connection and recommended that Sunny spend some time with the puppy to aid with its adjustment. Megan accepted, and after being put in a quiet room together, the 2 golden retrievers had an absolutely amazing experience. Sunny lay. The puppy initially walked hesitantly, but his calm approach encouraged the little one to relax. Getting closer and finally cuddling up at Sunny's side, it was an instant of pure comfort and trust, and Megan couldn't help but feel proud of Sunny. Over the following few weeks, Megan, once a sign of abandonment and terror, became a source of healing for others. Frequently stopped by the rehabilitation facility to see how the rescued dogs, especially the golden retriever puppy, were doing. She gave him the name Finn, and his development paralleled Sunny's early years with regular attention, wholesome food, and Finn, Sunny's kind buddy, flourished. His eyes and fur became lustrous. The center staff was astounded by Sunny's influence as his eyes sparkled and his tail began to wag more frequently. One of them said, "He seems to understand exactly what they need, like a therapy dog for these rescues." Megan nodded. With tearful eyes, Sunny is demonstrating to them that things will improve eventually since he understands what it's like to be in their shoes. After reading about Finn on the shelter social media, Megan got a call from a family who wanted to adopt him. Megan was ecstatic, but also felt a strong connection to his struggle after seeing his media page. She was anxious because she wanted to make sure Finn would receive the stable, loving home he deserved. The meeting was set up at the Sonny accompanied Megan to the rehabilitation facility, as his presence is usually a source of consolation for her and Finn's family. A young couple with 2 kids showed up smiling and with treats. When Finn licked their faces and waved his hand, the kids instantly knelt down to meet him, and their laughing filled the room. Tails Sonny observed from afar, his head cocked slightly as though evaluating the sight. After a brief pause, he approached Finn and nudged him gently, almost as if to reassure him that the adoption procedure went well and that they are decent people. Without incident, and Megan left the center feeling conflicted. She would miss Finn, but Sonny sensed her feelings and leaned against her leg as they walked to the house, knowing he was heading to a great place. Sonny, Megan said, "Carr, you're such a good boy," in a kind voice. So, as the days stretched into weeks, Megan thought about how Sonny's life had changed and how you had assisted Finn in finding his permanent family. He had completely changed from being a rescue dog to a hero, healer, and an advocate for change, touching the lives of many people along the way. Sonny's legacy went beyond the pets he consoled to the individuals who were motivated to act. He had transformed into a representation of resiliency and hope, demonstrating that even the most broken spirits could be healed with affection and consideration, and Megan realized this as she gazed into his kind and sage eyes. Their collaboration was far from ended. They will keep fighting for animals in need and creating awareness. Sonny's journey was more than simply a tale. It was a tale of kindness and second chances, movement that would serve as a catalyst for change for years to come. As Sonny's efforts as advocacy and rescue increased, Megan noticed a trend in the emails and calls she was getting from shelters, and nevertheless, a large number of the saved animals were from places with little funding for animal welfare, where heartbreakingly frequent cases of mistreatment and abandonment led to the thought, what if she and Sonny might do more than merely assist individual animals? What if they tried to improve these underprivileged? Motivated by this idea, Megan began organizing a new organization called Second Chance, with the intention of establish educational initiatives and mobile veterinary clinics for rural areas, assisting not only animals but, additionally, she contacted friends in the animal welfare group who were caring for them, and the answer was, veterinarians generously donated their time, sponsors promised money, and shelters offered to cooperate naturally. Sonny was at the center of everything. His tale became the focal point of the campaign, and Megan utilized his picture in promotional movies and flyers, social media posts, which attracted viewers. His radiant grin, soulful eyes, and the money that came in during the initial Project Second Chance event. The mobile clinic was positioned in the town square of a tiny rural town an hour's drive from Megan's house, providing free NEA services. Volunteers distributed informational materials about immunizations, exams, and spays, while Megan delivered During the presentation on responsible pet ownership, Sonny, as always, was flawless. A shy little boy approached the ambassador, who moved comfortably amid the gathering, welcoming kids and calming anxious pets. "Can you help her?" the youngster begged, his voice barely audible, holding a frail stray puppy. Megan knelt down to, "Naturally, we can meet the boy's eyes. What is her name?" The lad paused. Luna muttered as the senior team looked at Luna's Sonny, who remained by the boy's side, his serene demeanor calming the child. Megan grinned as she considered how Sonny had completely transformed from a terrified, deserted puppy to a representation of hope and recovery following Megan's incident. When she saw families leaving the clinic with happier, healthier pets, She thought about the difference they were making. She had a mission and had envisioned not only helping individual animals, but also establishing long-lasting change in entire communities' lives. But even as the project gathered steam, Megan couldn't get a. Despite their happiness and the progress they had made together, Sonny had a persistent question about her past. Regarding the events leading up to his desertion, the person who abandoned him by the side of the road, and the reason why one afternoon Megan got a surprise call from Laura, the reporter who originally covered Sonny's story. Megan, I believe I located. Laura added, a woman contacted me, with a hint of excitement in her voice. Megan's heart raced when she read Sonny's narrative and claimed to know who had abandoned him. She didn't elaborate on what she said, but I believe she feels bad and wants to meet with you. To clarify, a week later Megan was seated in a tiny cafe called Sunny By. A woman in her late 20s sat across from her, her hands shaking as she. Her name was Emily, and she was holding a cup of tea. Her eyes were red from crying. I apologize. I was the one who left in Megan's breath, Emily said, her voice trembling. Caught, but she made herself keep her composure and asked Emily softly why. She shed tears as she revealed that Sonny had belonged to her elderly father, who had lately passed away and cherished her, flowing down her cheeks. But I was at a loss for what to do following his death. I left him by the side of the road close to town because I was too distraught to care for him. Would allow him the opportunity to locate someone who could calm Megan's rage into. Seeing the anguish in Emily's eyes, she recognized that although her actions had been foolish, they hadn't originated from a malicious place. Sonny was terrified. Megan added softly, but Hune all right now that Hune is doing well. Emily gingerly reached out to pet Sonny's fur, and he waved his tail. I'm very sorry, Emily said in a murmur, her voice breaking as she leaned into her touch as though sensing her regret. Megan nodded, heart heavy but optimistic that you made a mistake, but Sonny's narrative has been helpful. Many others. Perhaps it is his intention to demonstrate to us that there is always a chance to put things right even when they go wrong. She experienced a sense of closure she hadn't anticipated when Megan and Sonny exited the diner. Sonny's history no longer felt. It was a part of his trip that had brought them to this amazing mission back home, much like a riddle or a wound. Megan was sitting on the porch in the golden light of the sunset, which was warming her. Shine over their tiny home, Sonny. You've gone a long way, she murmured, her voice full of proudly. And we're only just getting begun. Sonny laid his head on her lap and waggled his tail gently, gazed out at the horizon, prepared to take on whatever project lay ahead. Megan and Sonny found themselves traveling more regularly as their second chance grew, bringing resort and hope to. Communities in need received a lot of attention for their efforts, and while most of it was good, not everyone. Appreciating the shift, a group of people engaged in illicit puppy mills and animal cruelty saw the initiative as a threat to their operations. However, Megan was unaware that their increasing success had put them in jeopardy. Megan and Sonny arrived at a remote village for another Project Second Chance event on a cool morning with hardly any sunlight. Risen, the air was clear and fragrant with pine, and volunteers hurriedly put up tents and tables for the mobile clinic. Sonny greeted the staff as the event began, trotting beside Megan and wagging his tail. Families arrived with their pets without incident, appreciating the free medical care and supplies Megan provided. She was in the middle of talking to a couple about spaying their cat when a volunteer came up to her, appearing worried. A man inquired about you, and the volunteer said that he had been lingering on the edge of the event, observing Megan's. With her stomach knotted, she looked in the direction the volunteer had pointed out and saw a person leaning against a truck. With his hat down over his face, Sonny appeared to sense her discomfort as she approached to her side. Choosing to take the matter directly, Megan went up to the. She answered, "Hello, man," with a confident yet approachable posture. Her voice was calm. "May I assist you with?" You're causing a lot of trouble for people like me," the man said, looking up with cold, calculating eyes. Stated plainly that all of this rhetoric about closing puppy mills and prohibiting illicit breeding is detrimental to the industry. Even though Megan's heart was pounding, she resisted letting fear deter her from helping animals and their families. "If that's an issue for you, I advise you to leave," she said firmly. The man chuckled as his eyes shifted. "Shame if something happened to me before Megan," he said to Sunny, a nice dog, could reply. Sunny growled softly, and the man stepped defensively in front of her while mockingly raising his fists. "Okay, I'm going to leave," he replied, reversing course and heading for his truck. But Megan was shivered by the parting words. "Watch your back that night, Megan." Unable to forget the incident, she double-checked the window and door locks to keep Sunny safe. His proximity was consoling, but she couldn't shake the persistent sense that they were being observed during the day. After that, odd things started happening, and Megan saw tire tracks in her. The box of materials for Project Second Chance arrived damaged with a driveway that didn't match her automobile. The simple yet scary words in the threatening text were, "Stay out of our business." Megan reported the occurrences to the police, who pledged to step up patrols around her house. But she realized she couldn't depend on them alone. Put security cameras across the property and ensured Sunny was always with her in spite of Megan's threats. Refused to allow fear to stop her from completing her mission. She was aware that giving up would be futile. Sunny appeared to share her determination to be vigilant and observant, which would only encourage those attempting to frighten her. Everywhere they went one evening as Megan was cooking dinner, Sunny abruptly started barking wildly with his deep. Megan's heart jumped into her throat when she heard protective growls reverberating throughout the home. She hurried to the window and noticed shadows were approaching the yard's border, so she grabbed her phone and called the police while Sunny kept barking at his body. As she talked to the operator, she was alert and prepared when there was a tremendous bang coming from the rear of the home. Someone had shattered a window. Sunny ran toward the sound, and Megan followed his instincts. Cautiously locating a man in dark clothing with a crowbar in his hand between her and the intruder, Sunny roared, exposing his teeth and maintaining an uncompromising stance. Megan said, "Get out of here." Her voice faltered, but fierce. The intruder paused, obviously uneasy with Sunny's combative demeanor. As the noise, he dropped the crowbar and ran into the night as the sirens got louder. When the police arrived, they praised Sunny for his courage, saying, "You have a true hero here." One officer scratched behind Sunny's ears. Megan gave Sunny a firm hug while crying, which most likely saved your life. She muttered, her voice shaking with emotion, "You're my guardian angel." The encounter just made her feeling stronger. Sunny's bravery reminded Megan of the dangers of standing up for what was right, but Megan's determination, worth it everything since they worked as an unstoppable team to build a better world for animals in the days after the break-in. Megan was showered with community support. Friends, neighbors, and volunteers came together to support her, and donations to Project Second Chance skyrocketed, and numerous groups made offers to work together to grow the project. Sunny is now regarded as a local hero, gained even more attention than previously, as kids flocked to him at events to see the dog who had saved his owner. Megan frequently took advantage of these occasions to emphasize the love and dedication of adopting rescue animals. She would argue that they save you from the threats and break-ins as well as the people they brought into their lives. Megan was shaken, but they strengthened her resolve to make Project Second Chance an even more powerful force for good. Rather than turning back, she chose to use the publicity that Sunny's brave deed had generated to further the initiative's goal. Organized a public awareness campaign in order to rally support for Megan's first step. Pausing for Justice was an action that took place in the town square with the goal of shedding light on the harsh realities of animal exploitation and the significance of opposing those who maintained it by prominently displaying the campaign motto, Speak for those who cannot speak for themselves. The turnout for Pause for Justice was tremendous, with Sunny serving as the movement's face. Families, activists, and animal lovers from all across the area came together to demonstrate their support, and information booths lining the square provided. Volunteers who adopt rescue animals, report animal mistreatment, and spot the warning signs of illicit breeding operations distributed flyers, and nearby companies provided food and event supplies. Megan presented her story while standing on a makeshift platform with a microphone in hand, and Sunny sitting proudly next to her. Adventure. How she discovered Sunny abandoned, and how he turned into a representation of bravery and tenacity. Sunny's tale is evidence that she stated in a steady, passionate voice that change is possible, but it is up to us, the audience, to bring about that change. Erupted in applause, and Megan experienced a wave of hope because she realized that the message of kindness was for everyone present. An action would spread, touching many more hearts at the occasion. Garnered media interest, with reporters and bloggers interviewing Megan in an attempt to find out more about Sunny's tale and the difficulties they encountered. A reporter inquired, "How do you maintain your motivation when you're facing such strong opposition, Megan?" Looked at Sunny, who was sitting quietly by her side, while she explained that it wasn't just about me, but also about the animals like Sunny. They are worthy of another chance. If we give up, we're allowing fear to triumph, and I won't allow that to happen. Coverage raised awareness of Project Second Chance across the country, which resulted in collaborations with bigger groups, and donations from a few celebrities who promised their support skyrocketed, enabling Megan to take the project to new heights. Regions and give animals and their people even more resources. But not everyone was ecstatic about the success of the movement. Prompted the criminals to launch more covert retaliation, expanding misinformation, seeking to undermine events, and even threatening Megan's supporters anonymously. Despite these obstacles, Megan persevered, strengthened by the community's everlasting love and devotion. Of Sunny, Megan got a call one night from an unidentified number. She paused before responding, her heart racing, and a harsh voice said, "You think you're helping your..." To further the situation, Megan's hand shook, but she made herself answer, "If you're trying to scare me, that won't work, and we won't stop." The voice laughing icily. Hearing this, Megan experienced a mixture of anxiety and resolution as the call came to an end. Notified the authorities of the call right away, and they promised to take the threat seriously, but she understood that the battle was about demonstrating that kindness could prevail over cruelty, not just about safety. During this period, Sunny became even more sensitive to Megan's feelings, remaining near her whenever she felt. His nervous presence served as a continual reminder of the reasons she couldn't give up because they had conquered so much together. Megan started putting extra security measures in place for the project because this was just another obstacle in their journey. Second chance incidents, such as employing officers who are not on duty and setting up monitoring equipment, the additional. The project was able to carry out its mission because safety measures were taken to protect the volunteers and the animals. Uninterrupted, one crucial instance occurred during an undercover mission to reveal a significant puppy mill. Megan had been collaborating with a group of detectives utilizing data collected from the proof gathered by whistleblowers and former workers of the illicit enterprise was sufficient to justify a raid, and Megan was asked to see the rescue operations up close. The sight was devastating, with scores of dogs confined inside. As the rescue crew labored to release them from filthy cages, many of them were sick and emaciated. Megan noticed a trembling. The eyes of the golden retriever in the corner of one cage were terrified, but when Sunny came near the tail, for the first time, Megan noticed a change in the retriever's behavior as it began to wag gently. Glimmer of hope in the dog's eyes. Sunny's capacity to empathize with the rescued animals was truly amazing. He seemed to understand their needs and provide consolation and confidence in a manner that no human could. Led to the puppy mill's closure and the rescue of more than 50 pups. The operation garnered additional media attention. Megan utilized the spotlight to solidify Project Second Chance as a strong force in the fight against animal cruelty. As Megan and Sonny went back home, they pushed for stronger legislation and increased accountability for people who exploited animals. They watched the stars together on the porch after the raid. Megan commented, "We did something good today." Sonny put his head on her lap, his eyes mirroring the warmth of her words, and spoke in a voice full of quiet pride. They allowed themselves to enjoy the win, even though they both knew the voyage was far from over. They were working together to transform the world into a kinder place, one narrative, one rescue. Second opportunity at a time, and as the idea received national prominence, it also drew more. Megan was aware of the dangers, but she refused to support people whose illegal activities were being exposed due to their scrutiny and threats. Down with faith in the strength of the movement she and Sonny had established. Yet, one fateful morning, Megan discovered that her enemies were more resourceful and tenacious than she had expected. As she got ready for another community function, she saw that Sonny was pacing close to the front entrance, which was strange. Megan looked out and saw a black SUV parked there, his tail tight and pricked. Her pulse accelerated as she passed the darkly tinted windows down the street, which prevented her from seeing who was inside. But she, after forcing herself to remain composed, she took out her phone, took a picture of the car, and then called the police too. As she explained the circumstances, Sonny started to growl softly, his gaze focused on the strange activities. "We're on our way. SUV Megan." The dispatcher told her to stay inside and keep your doors secured. The SUV stayed there for what seemed like forever before ultimately leaving, but Megan's intuition of uneasiness persisted that night, and when watching her security camera footage, she spotted a shadowy figure. While strolling around her yard, the figure paused close to the back porch, as if to check her house, and then vanished. The next day, late into the night, Megan got a terrifying email that included "Megan, you have been warned" in a single sentence and are determined not to be frightened. Sent the message to the appropriate authorities and strengthened her security procedures since she understood she couldn't allow fear to control her, prevent her from working when so many animals relied on her. The Second Chance event, the next significant endeavor, was planned in a nearby town, and Megan was committed to making it happen in spite of the recent dangers. The event took place in a spacious park featuring mobile veterinary clinics and adoption centers were established to aid local animals, and the son was reassuring as usual. He welcomed guests with his wagging tail, calm demeanor, and soulful eyes. Megan's passionate speech about the value of sharing rescue efforts set the tone for the day. Sonny's tale with the audience, but as things went on, Megan was unable to dispel the uneasy feeling she had when she saw a man hanging around the park's perimeter with his baseball cap pulled. Sonny appeared to observe his attentive posture low over his face, but not. Megan quickly stood in the way of the man's aggressive approach as he started approaching the booths. "Can I help you?" she asked. The man didn't answer. Instead, he pushed by her as she queried in a firm voice despite the anxiety growing inside her. Sonny was on her way directly to the adoption area, where a number of volunteers were assisting families in meeting the rescue dogs. Positioned himself between the man and the volunteers and gave a piercing bark, drawing attention to the incident. The man murmured something under his breath before leaving after being swiftly stopped by security, but Megan was unable to shake the sensation that he wasn't finished that night. A loud thud reverberated as Megan and Sonny packed away their things. When Megan turned to see the black SUV driving toward the other side of the parking lot, her heart leaped into her throat. Event 10, Sonny's protective instincts kicked in the SUV, and he growled wildly. Came to a shrieking stop, and two men en masse sprang out, yelling for everyone to get out. Megan swiftly led the. Sunny refused to leave her side as the guys started to topple tables, despite the fact that the other volunteers and attendees were safely evacuated. In ruining supplies, Sunny sprang forward, barking so loudly that they stopped, and one of the men held up a hand, as though to hit him, but Sunny persisted. His fierce resolve was sufficient to cause them to pause at that precise moment. The males exchanged terrified looks as police sirens sounded in the distance, then hurried back into the SUV and, as they sped off, Megan fell on her knees and embraced Sunny fiercely in relief. And she felt a rush of excitement. The incident garnered media attention, highlighting the risks that those battling for animal welfare, but it also inspired support for the project's second chance, which resulted in a flood of money. Volunteers from all around the nation gave Megan their assistance, but she understood that the battle was far from done. Sunny had encountered tremendous obstacles, but their efforts were just getting started. The dangers they had faced brought to light the. A week following the incident, Megan got a call from the organization highlighting the urgency of their mission and the need for systemic change. Authorities had located and detained the men who carried out the attack, and their connections to a wide. The evidence Megan and her team had gathered over the years was revealing a network of illicit animal operations. Months were essential in breaking up the network, and Megan experienced a rush of pride for both herself and, together, Sunny and all those who had contributed to their cause had created a noticeable change. As the sun went down on yet another hectic day, Megan and Sunny sat on. Megan remarked, "You've been my rock through it all," as they stood on their porch, thinking back on everything they had been through. "I don't know what I'd do without you," Sunny said, caressing his golden fur as he laid his head on her lap, his eyes brimming with silent comprehension that he had been rescued, abandoned, changed, and in turn, he had changed the lives of innumerable others. Their path had been paved with setbacks and victories, but as Sunny and Megan's journey came to an end, Megan was assured that they could overcome anything together, reach the most impressive stage age they could have ever dreamed of. Project Second Chance had been asked to give a presentation at a. Advocates attend the esteemed National Animal Welfare Convention. The invitation from industry executives and policymakers demonstrated the significance of their work, but for Megan, it was also an opportunity to tell Sunny's amazing story, which exemplified optimism, resiliency, and the unbreakable link between people and animals. And the conference took place at a large convention center with halls full with. Megan and her crew set up their booth, which featured displays of creative projects and success stories from all over the country, showcasing the milestones and activities of Project Second Chances. Sunny was at the center of the presentation, as usual. His joyful visage was shown on a giant banner with the text "From Abandoned to Adored. One Dog's Journey to Change the World." The keynote session was the highlight of the event, and Megan was the featured speaker as she took the stage. The auditorium fell silent. Sunny sat beside her, his golden coat gleaming under the stage lights, his calm presence grounding her nerves. Megan began her speech by recounting the day she found Sunny by the roadside alone and sick. She highlighted his rehabilitation and how his courage had motivated her to start Project Second Chance. "Sunny's tale is not special," she replied, her voice calm and loaded with emotion. "Every abandoned animal has the power to alter lives. They simply need someone to trust in them." She spoke about the hurdles they had experienced, from the threats of those who opposed their work to the heart-wrenching moments of rescuing animals from dangerous conditions. But she also highlighted the successes, the lives saved, the families built, and the communities united by a similar mission. When Megan completed her address, she glanced, looking down at Sunny, who looked back at her with complete faith. "Sunny showed me that even a small act of kindness may have a big impact. Collectively, we can make the world a place where all animals have second chances." By chance, Megan's comments and Sunny's appearance caused the audience to burst into applause, with many people standing up. Ovations served as evidence of the influence of their work and the strength of their narrative. Following the lecture, people flocked around Sunny and Megan in anticipation of meeting them and finding out more about Project Second Chance. A well-known benefactor who identified himself as Richard Bennett was one of them. "Your story is amazing. I'd like to fund your next expansion," he remarked in a serious tone. Megan's breath. "That would be fantastic," she said, her excitement hardly contained. With Richard's help, they were able to expand Project Second Chance to areas they had only ever imagined visiting. But as the conference came to an end, the day's high point wasn't yet reached. Megan got it. "We received an unexpected call from the rehabilitation facility that had assisted Sunny during her early recuperation. The director, Sunny's original owner, claimed that Megan's pulse raced and that she had always." She pondered Sunny's background, but hadn't actively sought out answers, preferring to concentrate on his future. "Who is it?" With a trembling voice, the director revealed that Helen, a woman, had been looking for Sunny ever since he vanished. She was elderly and had become unwell at the time of Sunny's abandonment. Her family was overburdened with taking care of her, had unintentionally abandoned Sunny by the side of the road, believing that a nearby shelter would discover him once Helen recovered. And after learning of what had transpired, Megan was saddened and had searched for him for years. Her feelings were a mixture of delight and sadness. For Helen's sorrow about the suffering she may have gone through and a panic attack at the considered losing Sunny, but a week later, Megan realized what she needed to do. And Sunny went to Helen's humble house. The old woman was weak but smiled warmly as she opened the door, her eyes full of. She whispered when she spotted Sunny, "Oh, my sweet boy," with tears in her eyes. After a brief pause, shaky Sunny moved forward and nuzzled her hand. Helen looked up as Megan observed the two, re-establishing their unbreakable relationship. Megan's eyes gleamed as she continued, "Thank you for saving him." Megan smiled, her heart hurting, but she was glad that he saved me more than I had saved him. After spending hours exchanging memories and anecdotes, Megan and Helen decided that Sunny would remain with Megan where he had constructed a life and a purpose, but Megan's enlarged family would include Helen. Pledged to bring Sunny over on a regular basis, so Helen wouldn't lose contact with the puppy she cherished. As Megan and Sunny made their way home, she thought about how far they had come and how their journey had been filled with both hope and pain, obstacles and victories. Sunny's tale has inspired and impacted numerous persons. Looking at Sunny, Megan went out to stroke behind his ears, encouraging others to believe in second chances. She murmured softly, "We've been through so much, haven't we?" Sunny waved his tail and his eyes. With the same quiet wisdom that had directed her the entire time, they had persevered through hardship and emerged stronger. Their link was solid, and Megan was confident that they could face one obstacle together as they looked to the future. For Megan and Project Second Chance, the months after the conference were life-changing. With the help of the new financing and partnerships, the program spread to underprivileged areas, establishing long-term. Megan was busier than ever with rescue centers and mobile clinics, but Sunny stayed by her side the entire time, his presence serving as a continual reminder of the reason she had embarked on this adventure. As a result of Sunny's story, schools all around the world invited Megan to lecture about animal welfare. Sunny frequently accompanied her to meet the students. His sweet disposition and serene manner made him an immediate favorite. One day, a little kid approached the children, many of whom had left the presentations excited to adopt their own rescue animals. He murmured nervously, "I want to be like you when I grow up," as Megan clutched a drawing of Sunny after a presentation. Megan stooped down to his level to assist animals, her eyes gleaming. "You already are. I'm proud of you," she continued, pointing at the drawing of Sunny. Moments like these strengthened Megan's conviction that their efforts would have a lasting impact on generations, as Helen grew to be a treasured member of Megan and Sunny's. As promised, Megan took Sunny to see Helen on a regular basis during. Helen showed a collection of pictures from Sunny's early years, when he was a lively puppy. During one visit, Helen's voice continued, "He's always been special, with golden fur shining in the sunlight, brimming with love. And now that he's doing something truly remarkable," Megan nodded her heart out. "He has significantly altered my life. I had no idea that the new facilities created by Project Second Chance would flourish under Megan's direction. The facility transformed into a beacon of hope for animals and their families, providing everything from adoption to medical care. Services Sunny's picture came to represent the project on posters and branding. As Megan visited one of the new institutions, she came upon a children's book about his adventure. A timid golden retriever mix was adopted by a family. The dog reminded her of Sunny and his. Early on, the family's youngest daughter was shy, but full of promise, clinging. Megan's throat constricted as a stuffed animal gazed up at her and murmured, "We're going to give him a second chance." Sunny, who was peeping out the window as the family drove away their new friend, waggled his tail next to her as though to say, "This is the reason we do this." The success of the program also brought about significant improvements on a broader scale. Megan's campaigning helped lawmakers enact stronger laws on puppy mills and more severe punishments for animal. Public awareness campaigns on cruelty that used Sunny as the spokesdog urged people to adopt instead of. Megan, your pet store is changing the way people think about rescue animals. Frequently thought back on the path that had led them here. It wasn't only about protecting animals. It was also about building a movement with a foundation in community and compassion, and at its center was Sunny, whose tenacity had ignited a revolution. Megan and Sunny sat on their balcony one peaceful evening. As they watched the sunset, their serene home was bathed in a warm glow as the sky was painted in shades of pink and orange. Sunny laid his head on Megan's lap and closed his eyes in satisfaction. "Well done," Megan whispered as she ran her fingers through his fur. "So much, you know, not only for. You're a hero to me, but to a lot of other people." Sunny wagged his tail idly. Trust in Megan as unwavering as ever. They remained that way for a time, savoring the peace and quiet, realizing that they had created a more compassionate world. The legacy of Project Second Chance and Sunny's story endured not only in the lives they had directly impacted, but in the innumerable others they had motivated nationwide. And even stories of people being rescued and being rescued were circulated globally, causing a chain reaction of cross-border sympathy was sensed by Megan as she gazed out at the horizon. A profound sense of completion. The path had not been simple, but every hardship and sacrifice had been worthwhile. Together, she and Sunny had demonstrated that love and perseverance could triumph despite hardship, and knowing that their journey was far from ended with sunny skies, Megan grinned as the stars started to glimmer in the twilight sky. Sunny's tale is only one of many that show how prepared she was for whatever lay ahead. If you've been moved by this, we can work together to give every animal a second chance. Story, think about fostering, adopting, or helping out your neighborhood rescue groups. Together, let's build a world where. Thank you for viewing, and please remember to like, subscribe, and share. Every animal is cherished and cared for.